Welcome back to Adobe Photoshop, and we're in Adobe Camera Raw because you should always start with your images in Adobe Camera Raw. So one of the things I want to instill in your head is just because I'm teaching in Adobe Photoshop, I'm always adjusting the white balance and the basic values of my image inside of Adobe Camera Raw. Before we send these two images over to Photoshop, let's go ahead and take a look at them and make some adjustments. So first thing, I'll usually try auto, and that looks pretty good. This image should be warmer than that, so we're just going to warm it up. That looks pretty good. We're going to go to the light. So in this photo right here, we have this hot spot in that area. Now, I can make a selective adjustment. However, I'm going to be able to just slide the highlights way over. Normally, I would say never make an adjustment this great, but in this image, it's helping and benefiting it. So we're knocking those highlights way down. Then we're going to lower the contrast, go in flat, open up our shadows because we can always increase this. This is a pretty contrasty image. This one looks good. So we're going to click on the next image because you can tone two at the same time if you want. And so we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to go to auto. It's warming it up a little bit. I actually like this image cooler. And yeah, so the problem in this image is the coat and just the subject. It's way too dark. The background's not too dark. So we need to make a selective adjustment. This doesn't need any basic adjustments globally. So we're going to only do selective adjustments. This is that blocking that we see where this is really two-dimensional looking. It looks like a piece of paper. So we're going to go to selective adjustment and we're going to hit select subject. It's probably going to do an awesome job. It did. And then we can lower the contrast, brighten this image up, and open up the shadows a lot. And yeah, now we can actually see them and see the coat. Is it perfect? No. Notice his face got really red. When you have a really dark subject and you brighten it up a lot, it causes the face to get super saturated in a red color. And we can fix this. We're not going to do it here. We could go here and shift this color around a little bit by going this way and then desaturating it. But it's desaturating the whole photo. And we just want to do his face. We can do this more selectively inside of Adobe Photoshop. What I'm going to do is come up here, hold that Command key. It would be Control on a PC to select both. If I only select one, it's only going to open one. But we need to select them both. Send these both over to Adobe Photoshop. All right, we're in Photoshop. So if remembered last time, we took a look at the selection tools, and yeah, I forgot a selection tool. I don't know why. So right up here, we've got the selection brush, the lasso tool, but right down here, when we looked at the magic wand, this is actually the top icon. So I don't know how I missed it, but this is called the quick selection tool. The good thing about it is it's really easy to use, and you should normally see the round brush, but I have the caps locks on. So if I turn caps locks off, you'll then see the round circle, and I can use that bracket next to the letter P to make that bigger or smaller, okay? And you need to adjust it. This is easy. You left click and drag over the item that you want selected. It tries to find the edges and then make that selection. So you can see, yeah, it's going really well. We can go the whole way down, I guess. And it didn't get this. So just like I said before, we learned that we can subtract from a selection. So Shift is to add. And if we hold the Alt Option key, so Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, it will subtract. So I'm making my brush smaller so it can actually fit in this area. I'll hold that. You'll see it turns to a minus. Left click, hold, and drag, and it will select that area. It's not doing a good job. There we go. All right. I can't go the whole way without making the brush smaller, so we're going to call that good. All right. So we have this wonderful selection, and now we want to get into the selective adjustments. In photography, we have two completely different types of adjustments. we have destructive, non-destructive. We are basically going to learn the non-destructive way. But a destructive one would be to go up here to Image, Adjustments, and we'll just pick Curves. Okay. So this is a destructive adjustment. And then I'm going to brighten this up. And then I'm going to hit OK. So what happens in this, and I know destructive sounds bad, but it's not. But when I make that adjustment and hit OK, it physically applies it to the image and adjusts it, the ones and zeros. And if you save this, you can't go back in time and work on it. Well, we don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit Command Z and go back. And so we've still got our selection. And there's also different ways to make an adjustment layer. So a new adjustment layer. The first one is the way you should never use, and that's to go up here to Layer, go down to New Adjustment Layer, and then go to Curves. All right, and any of those could be used, but we're just doing curves. You can label this, I will call this the slow way. And you can see, because we made a selection by holding the Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, I can click up here on the right on the mask, and it shows me the mask. Remember, white is where the adjustment's going to happen. Black is where it's not going to happen. I can hold that Alt Option key again, click on it, we get the image. So if I click on this little guy right here, that's the icon that brings up the curve back onto the properties. And so then I can simply just brighten this, and it's happening in that area, but it's only happening on the subject because we've made a selective layer adjustment because we made a selection. And if you make a selection first and then you make an adjustment layer, it makes the mask for you. So I'm going to come on over here to the curve so we can see curves right there. This is the same adjustment. That was a curves. This is a curves. This is just a different location. But because I don't have a selection, it's just going to make the mask completely white. I could easily have fixed that and turned the selection back on, but I wanted you to see we have adjustment panel here. That's why we have the adjustments. If you click on this little menu here, you can change the way it looks. You'll see underneath there's some presets and other things. We're not going to be using those anytime soon. So these are all the different types of adjustments we have. We can also come to the layers panel here and go down. So not in the history, but right here. You see that little circle that looks like it's half dark, half bright? If we click on that, now you can't see it because my picture is probably hiding it, so I'll move it out to the left of the screen. But there's a bunch of little options, and one of them says curves. Now, remember, I didn't have a selection, so it did not make a selective adjustment, but I can activate that again, and then I can come down here, hit the curves again, and now because I have a selection, it makes the mask. If you make a selection and then you make the adjustment, it has to be in that order, you can make selective adjustments. What we're going to do is we're going to delete these. So I did what we call a shift delete, and with the first image selected, I hold shift to go to the end. It selects everything. I can simply hit delete. Yes, I want to delete them. They're all gone. So we're going to do this over again. But if you look down here on the bottom, we've got this little thingamajigger here. This is newer. It's called the Contextual Task Bar. And if you look, it's got something called Select Subject. So let's go ahead and click that because that seems to make a lot of sense in this circumstance. So it made a perfect selection for us. Now, Select Subject is available here. It's also available up here, as long as you have one of the selective tools selected, or you can also go up to Select Subject. 3 different ways to make a Select Subject. Now, this is new. This thing usually moves, but I've pinned it to the bottom. So if you click on these little 3 dots, and then you click on it, you see where it says pin bar to the position. I don't want it moving all over the place, and it irritates me if it does that, so I haven't done it. You can also hide it, reset it, and do a couple of different things. But this contextual taskbar will change depending on what you're doing. You can already see, since we made a selection, it's saying, hey, do you want to fill that with AI? No. And we've also got other options over here. So we can modify this selection. We can invert the selection, which would select the sky. We can create a mask. We can fill the selection, and we can create a new adjustment layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here. We're going to do a curves adjustment again. And it's making that mask for us because we made a selection. And then I can come in here. Curves work like this. This is our highlight side. This is our shadow side. This is the midtones. This is the histogram. So it's a lot of histogram on the right-hand side that's showing all this black because we're making that selection. So it's just looking what we have selected is mostly black. If we grab this top point and go to the left, it brightens our highlights. We can also grab this triangle and go to the left. It's doing the same thing. If we go to the right, we've got a triangle and a dot there. So if we go this way, it increases the contrast. And you can grab the triangle or the dot to do that. If we take that dot straight up, it flattens our image out. And if we take the highlight dot straight down, it darkens our highlights. If we come here and just in the middle, and I grab this, and when I say up, I mean like at a perpendicular line from this. So straight this way, that's brightening. This is darkening. And you can set multiple points on a curve. So if I just want to brighten the shadows, I can slide the curve down here, which is in the shadow areas. And I can click and add a second point and bring this down. And what I want to show you here is this little faint black line. That's where our curve originally was. And this white line is our new curve. So you can see how it kind of goes up and down. So this means the highlights and midtones to here aren't being affected by this. This is the only area of the image, these shadows and darker midtones, that are getting affected, and they're getting brightened in this photo. If you have a point and you want to delete it, you can click on it and then on a Mac hit delete. I don't know if delete works on a PC. If anybody knows how to delete the point, that would be helpful. You can leave that in the comments below. There's also another way to get rid of points, and I'm going to show you this. So it's called like throw it away. So what's going to happen is that my hand's going to be on a mouse or a trackboard. It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to left click and hold, and then you're going to take your hand and go like flick and just real quick movement. And when you do that, when you get to the end of your movement, let go of the left click and it will like throw it away. So I'll do it. Boom. You can see it tossed it away. So it's gone. So right now, nothing's happening to the adjustment because we haven't adjusted this curve. So we want to brighten our guy up a little bit. Now, curves also are adjusting the red, the green, the blue channels. So if I go into the red channel, I can actually add or change color. I can do color correction by adjusting that. Red this way, kind of a cool blue cyan to the bottom. If I go in the green channel, it's green and magenta. And if I go in the blue channel, it's blue and yellow. So we're going to toss that one. Oop, didn't toss it away. There it goes. We don't want to do that. We can also tell Photoshop, hey, I want to adjust brightness. But you can see his face got brighter. I don't want you to affect color. To do that, you're going to go up here to where it says normal. And you're going to click on that and drop down to luminosity. Those things you saw are called blending modes. And by doing this, it's only affecting the brightness of the image, not the color. So if you don't want to affect color, change it to a luminosity blending mode, and curves will only affect luminance in the image. Up here in our adjustments, we've got brightness, contrast, levels, curves, and exposure. They all do the same thing. They kind of are brightening or darkening an area and let you basically adjust some contrast. You do not need to know how to use all of these. Now, brightness contrast is really the most intuitive. Curves and levels work better. I would say if you had to learn one, learn how to adjust curves because it's the most beneficial and it gives you the most adjustability. Levels is the next one. So I'll click on this and just show you how it works. So this is our full histogram because nothing was selected. But if we grab this little slider, that increases our highlights. If we grab this one, it increases our contrast. This is actually called gamma, but think of it as midtones. If we go to the left, it's brightening. If we go to the right, it is darkening. If we grab this one, it's flattening our shadows. And if we grab this one, flattening or darkening our highlight. Just like in levels, we can do color correction by adjusting one of the blue, the green, the red channels that we have in there. These are called selective adjustments, all right? And the cool thing about Photoshop is if we save this as a PSD, which is a Photoshop file, or a TIFF file, and we have layers turned on, the layers will be saved. So if you come back to this in a couple of weeks, these layers will still be here. And if you decide you don't want this adjustment, you could either delete it or turn the eyeball off and it's gone. You can control these at any point. So they don't go away. This is what we mean by non-destructive. It's not physically applying it, it's an adjustment layer. And you're only seeing a preview of what it will look like if you save it. Not saving it at this point, so it's just keeping it as a layer. So those are how you make selective layers. Now you can do a selective layer with any tool. So I'll grab the lasso tool and I'll just circle his face. So we have the face selected. Once again, I can grab the curves layer. I can come in here. I can brighten it up. It's a little red, so I can go to the red channel and just drag down a little bit and take some of that red out. Now we've made that selective adjustment in that one specific area. You can turn it off and on. You can see how it's changing. And we use the lasso to make that selection. Some tool preference is because, yeah, they just work better for that circumstance. Some are personal preference. It doesn't really make a difference. So what I suggest is that you practice this now and try it out. You need to get used to understanding what masks do and what layer adjustments do, because the order also matters. And we'll get into that further in later tutorials. Hopefully, if you found this video helpful and could give us a thumbs up, it's a new channel, that would be great. Feel free to share any of my videos on social media. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave those below. If you have complicated questions, you can always go to Facebook and join our Facebook group, Shutterbug Academy, and that allows you to upload images and videos, and sometimes in letting me see what's going on can be helpful. If you haven't subscribed, that would be great, and have a wonderful day.